All right, you're ready to go. He's late. He's running about 10 minutes late. We just found the first stuff we can pay on second manner. Okay, so we're calling to order the town council meeting in Virgin, Utah, Monday, November 20th, 2023. It is 6:07 p.m. and we can go ahead and do the first little bit of what's on the agenda. Heath is running late, and as soon as he gets here, we'll start with the public hearing. Not that there's very many people for the public hearing. We may get out of here early tonight. Okay, so let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Misty's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we always start with the prayer. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we bow our heads in gratitude for this wonderful nation we live in, for the opportunity to live here in this beautiful land, with a beautiful place in the mountain. We're grateful for the pioneers that settled this country and made it possible for us to live here. We pray exceptionally that thy spirit will be here tonight, of understanding, of empathy for one another's desires and needs. We pray that thy blessings will be with the five of us as we make decisions, that we might do those things that are right for the time. We do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Okay, declaration of conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight? Jean?
No.
Leroy?
No.
Jean, no. Misty?
No.
Paul?
No.
Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of the town council meeting from October 17th and give Crystal your changes? Paul?
I made my own changes on sure.
That's what I did too. Misty, any changes? No? Leroy?
No.
Jean? Okay, all right, so I'll take, anybody have any questions about the checks or invoices? And if not, then I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda item 1, approval of minutes from October 17th, 2023 of the town council, approval of checks and invoices for October 2023.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Open forum. Our 3 residents that are in the audience, if any of you 3 have anything you want to say during open forum, you're free to come to the microphone. So there's nothing for open forum. So we move on to council. Like I said, this can be a short meeting. I'm sorry, Albert, that you came all the way down here for what might be a short meeting.
Anytime I can be in Southern Utah.
Okay. Council comments. Any comments from Paul? Anything to say? I'm starting your end.
No comments, probably only, I guess I'll have one report that the fire board is working on the budget for the year. We're on the calendar year, not the fiscal year. So our budget is due by the end of the year. And I'll post draft of the budget up on the SharePoint for everybody that can look at it.
Okay. I have never really given you guys reports on when I go to the Washington County Solid Waste meetings. But given his report from the fire district, I thought I'd tell you what the, solid waste is raising rates. I was thinking tonight when we go through this, how much all of this is raising rates, and the solid waste district is raising rates. Everybody's, it just seems right here at the end of the year, everybody's raising rates on across the board. Anyway, solid waste is raising rates. I can't remember offhand, how much it was, but Crystal got a notice and she sent it out to the whole town, about the increase that was coming from solid waste. And they are redoing the, I don't know how many of you guys have been to the landfill, but they are redoing the whole thing, the whole entrance into the landfill. They're getting a new building, they're getting new scales that those who come in with heavy loads that go into the scale that then weighs it and tells it how much to charge. They're getting new scales. And in fact, the plan is, and this may be 2 years down the road, but the plan is that they'll take those scales and they're gonna bring them out here to Virgin, and then when they get installed in Virgin, people will be able to come in with loads that instead of taking them to the landfill, they'll be able to bring them here to Virgin because we will actually have a scale. But that may be 2 years from now. They're gonna take the old scales from there and bring them up here. And, so that'll be just a ways away, but that, what they're doing, the new buildings are gonna have out there look pretty cool. So it's gonna be really nice. They're changing the whole entrance and everything. So when they get done, it's gonna be nice. And actually Galloway is the, engineering firm that got the contract to, well, they were doing the design. A different firm got the construction contract, and we just had a special meeting, last Monday. We had a special meeting to award the construction contract to, one of the firms that bid for it. So they'll get started sometime next year. Okay, I think that's all I have for council comments. No, there is one other thing I wanted to let everybody know. I was talking with a representative of Sitla recently, a couple of weeks ago, and he said that the Sitla property that's at the top of the Laverton Twist, 40 acres is under contract. And the people that have it under contract plan to build a hotel. You and I were talking about that the other day, Gene. I told you who it was. They're planning to build a hotel there. And then when Sitla's contract with Rockwell or the up on the Mesa, all that property that they have, however many acres that is it like 50 acres? We've been through this before, as we were talking about the water tank on Mesa Road, how much property, Sitla property that is contracted with for the Hurricane Mesa test facility. But when that lease is up, they will not be renewing the lease, and they're gonna put that property up for sale. So all that property that's behind, that is where it comes down off Mesa Road and goes from like Monty's house over to the west town border, they're gonna put that up for sale.
Is that annexed?
I believe it is. I have to look at the town count. I have to look at our map to be sure, but I think it's inside Virgin City limits.
So that includes the property where the tank sits.
Yeah, but we're,
Yeah, right.
oh, in fact, we need to have.
We should verify that. That's a good question, Gene, because if it isn't, we probably want to annex it.
Yeah, because, that, now when we were dealing with the stuff at the water tank on Mesa Road, we looked up, we checked when is the lease that Rockwell has, when it's up, but I can't remember, like 2030, 2040?
Something like that is.
Okay, I know it's quite a distance in the future, but they're already planning that, they're gonna sell it.
They didn't give up the road,
We didn't get into that much discussion.
because I know we gave up the road that goes up there.
Yes,
I think the county took the road.
The county
so
took
the
Right, so
county-
does that mean that they're in the county, not within the city limits? 'Cause
well,
we gave them-
I have to look at a map, I have to look at the zoning map of the town and see if that's in our city limits or not. But they do plan to sell it, it'll be after our time, but I just wanted people to know that that is planned to be sold. And so as we talk about eventually Ash Creek, Water Conservancy District, all of this, I just want people to know that's gonna go for sale probably 10 or 20 years from now.
Yeah, so the time now is to start exploring the annexation, dust off our old annexation policy that was passed a number of years ago, probably amend that, and then proceed to see if we need to annex it or not.
Okay,
That'd be my thoughts.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
wanted you guys to know.
I just soon have town control that instead of the county.
But my interest when Sibyl was explaining all this of the land at the top of the twist. And that land at the top of the twist has been talked about for a long time to sell it and develop it, but now that it's under contract. And the plan to build a hotel, I kind of feel like it's time there, it might actually happen. But even then, the people that are, when Sibyl was explaining this to me, I said, well, even if these people buy this property and they want to put a hotel there, there's going to be an issue with whether they do one of these large underground wastewater systems, or they wait for the sewer to come up because there's no sewer there. What are they gonna do? And he said, yes, they were aware, and they were discussing all that, and that's part of their analysis as they're deciding whether to buy that property. But that's where I was like, well, this is going to be yet another factor in determining what the development that will be coming and whether to go with Ash Creek and Water Conservancy District. It's all going to play into that decision. Okay, so I just want you guys to be aware. Okay, Missy, do you have any comments? Leroy, I know Leroy does because he's got his paperwork in his hands.
I just want to go over the finances, as far as the cash flow and, for the month of October, we had a surplus of funds of 13,675. But we had a deficit for the year to date of 16,560. That deficit, is there, and we knew that we would probably have one because of, capital outlays over the grant for the repairs to the city hall. And so we absorbed part of that last year and we're absorbing the rest of it. So we figure there's nearly $80,000 in expenses this year, and we're only $16,000 in a deficit. So what we had planned, it looks like we're making sufficient money to pay for that as we go along. Any questions from the public?
The rest of this looks like we're doing really well with what we budgeted and, other than that, other than the capital outlay, everything else looks really good.
If you look at total revenue, we should be at about 33% of our budgeted amount. We're at 39%. So trying to be conservative in our income approach, and looks like we were, even though.
Where are you looking? Where are you looking?
The first page of the total revenue, you'll go over to the far right and see we budgeted to be at 33%. We're, and then to the left of that, 39.02%.
Oh, there, I'm sorry, I was looking down at the next slide. Okay.
I've talked to a few people in Springdale and think there are a lot, there's been less people coming to their restaurants and their facilities, and they figured that that was natural because they had such a surge right after COVID that brought in a lot of people, and they feel that they're just fine. They're just where they should be at this point.
So looking at this, remember, Paul, you had proposed that we bump up our resort tax to the 0.5 that we still have here, or 0.05 that we had not yet moved up to. We never have followed up on that.
Yeah, something we should get done.
All right, then, Heath, we were discussing before the meeting got started that, our 2 public hearings that we have scheduled ought to be awfully short. So we may end up with a meeting that ends early tonight, keep our fingers crossed. Okay, so, Jean, did you have anything for public hearing? I mean, for public council comments? No? Okay, then we're ready to move on to the public hearing. So, I make a motion that we open the public hearing and we will accept comment on items 1 and 2. We'll do them separately. So first, we will receive input with respect to increase in the water rates. And then second, we will receive input from the public with respect to amendment of our fee schedule. So, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Close the public meeting and open the public hearing. For future second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Crystal, this is not one where we need a roll call vote, is it just to open a public hearing?
No.
Nope. Okay, good. Okay, so is there anyone in the room who has any public comment with respect to increasing the water rates? And this is in the ordinance that we have here for everyone to, that we put out for everyone to review. We're going to be, the plan is to increase the base rate for the residential rate. It's currently $55 a month, and we are proposing to increase it by $5 to a new rate of $60 a month. Commercial base rate would go up $30 from $90 a month to $120 a month. And the standby water rate will go up $8, so from $22 to $30 a month. And this is being necessitated because of the construction of a water tank on the east side of town, and we have a loan of $3 million, and we will be paying back $2,140,000, and they're going to forgive almost $1 million of that loan. So we have to pay back 2.1 million, and this increase is to fund payments of the loan. So if anyone has any comments of our 3 members of the public that are here, that would be fine. So Sean?
Okay, Sean Allen. Water is always a fun issue, and paying for it has been something we've done quite a few times in this town. To make this a little more palatable, I might have a few suggestions, but just to kind of give you an idea of what's happened previously, and give you the reasons why my suggestions might be pertinent. In the past, we were changing the rate of the water, increasing that, and we were told that that money was all going to go to infrastructure and to, because the pipes are getting old and we need to pay for that. And it ended up, after they increased it, this was years ago, so ended up that only about 25% of that actually went to infrastructure. The rest of it went to everything else that might be related to water. I hope that doesn't happen with this. We then turned to a tiered system of increase. I'm glad this is just the base rate, because the tiered system kind of makes it hard for larger families who use more water to actually pay for that as well. So it kind of attacked those large families more than it did just those who were trying to target those who use too much water in landscaping or anything else like that. So I'm glad that this is a base rate increase. I almost never agree with any increase, but again, to make it more palatable, I hope that there's some kind of guarantee that this $5 increase, all of that, 100% can go into paying off the loan itself. Also, is there any guarantee that new growth will come back and all of that will be used towards paying off this loan? And then the pipe dream might have to be that once it's paid off, do we decrease it by a little bit? Take some kind of study or something and say, okay, we paid that off. Is there a way to reduce this and make it a little bit easier for the citizens again to pay for their water?
Nobody else? Okay. So that was to take public input on the increase in the water rate. And the other public hearing is to take public input on the increase in the amendments to the fee schedule. And we are raising fees, most of these fees, other than the home occupation fee, all of the fees are related to construction. So there's the building permit application that is being raised for commercial buildings, residential is staying the same. The building inspector fee is being raised for both residential and commercial fees. The development review fee,
Question on that.
that's,
It's residential on there.
We're just changing the name on that.
yes, sorry. We just changed that one, we were just changing the name from zoning administrative fee to development review, otherwise it's exactly the same as what it was before.
Understood.
Okay.
So it's confusing with DRC.
I was kidding, that's why I stopped. Conditional use permit fee, we're raising from $400 to $1,000 because now we have the conditional use permits now have to go through the development review committee, which takes more time and has to pay for services of the town. And then third party review, which is on the next page. Initially, we had a charge of $1,500 doing a third party review. But we were going to raise that to $2,000, and when we talked with the engineer that we contracted with to do our third-party reviews, he indicated that there's actually 3 different reviews that are done under third party. There's a civil review, the structural review, and then the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And at the structural and the mechanical MEP, as he calls it, those really are to be determined. There's no set fee. He indicated that those would be determined per project. And then lastly, the home occupation fee, right now is a one-time fee of $50. And we're going to change that to have an application of $100, and the annual renewal we'll have an annual renewal fee of $50 instead of just a one-time fee of $50. Because they need to come in and get a new permit every year. So does the public, anyone in the public that is here have a comment about raising these fees? I have one comment from a member of the public who couldn't be here and wants it read into the record. But any comments from those that are here about raising those fees? Sean?
Diana, and I just have questions. On the previous one, it was talking about conditional use permit. I'm hoping that's very specific to building permits, because there are conditional use permits that are not in respect to building. And I wonder if that's clarified in this fee schedule, that those are separate things.
Give me an example of what that figures.
So a conditional use permit, a place that's already been built, it already has a building, and all you're doing is changing the use of it, but it still is required to have a conditional use permit. So then there's no DRC that has to go through or anything else, it would just be a conditional use permit. And that would go through a separate process, I would see, so.
There actually would be same, DRC review.
There'd be review, but it would be completely different than like engineers won't need that, so that's all.
You have like fire district reviewing based on the use, if there's any other requirements that the fire district would place on this structure. There could be issues such as, parking and other things that gets reviewed at the development review stage, kind of fleshed out. So even new uses of existing structure. Part of the conditional use permit process is going through the DRC.
Yeah, so the question is, would you consider looking at the
Adjusting the fee.
adjusting it perhaps to two different types? And then somebody he'd be able to determine which one they fit in, when they come for their, conditional use permit. So then the other question was about, home occupation. The question I had was whether or not. And you said that they'll have to get a new permit every year.
Yeah, annual renewal.
An annual renewal, and I can't remember if the state was going to do it or if they did pass it, but once you have a permit for that you weren't as a town or city be able to do an annual renewal of some sort, and I'm not sure.
Conditional use permit, it's not home occupation. Which we do differently, our home occupation permit is not conditional use. They're an annual,
It's just like,
Yeah, I know it's,
like this is like.
for my example, and down in Hurricane, I know somebody has a dress store in their house. And they do alterations and stuff, and the city came back and said, well, we've been charging you this and we can't. So they gave it back to them, and I wasn't sure if that's related to this same fee.
A lot of cities are granting conditional use permits, on an annual basis to be reviewed upon review, and you can't do that anymore. Under state law, those, when a conditional use permit is granted, it's perpetual.
Yes, yeah.
And that's probably where a lot of cities were doing that, charging an annual review fee, but not but this is a lot like business licensing.
Yes, so then the other question is this separate than a business license? In the past, you've had to have a business license and a home occupation permit. And is this stacked on top of that, or is this separate? And you'd have to clarify that as well, because, it used to cost more to have a business in your home than it did just have a business license, because I tried that before. And I went down to Hurricane, got a business license and worked out of there because it was too cumbersome to do it here. And then they were wanting to charge a fee every year on top of that, and it just wasn't palatable. So take a look at that, those two things. Thank you.
all right, so, I have one letter to read into the record, which is the, comment from Lauren Campbell that is on this topic. And I'll read it, it's a short email, and then we can close this meeting. Lauren Campbell says, I am in favor of changes to the town fees with the exception of the annual renewal of the home occupation permit. We pay other fees to the town, such as our water connections and property taxes. But requiring residents to apply for and pay an annual fee seems unnecessary, especially when there seems to be no enforcement of any other provisions. Okay, so those are our comments from the public. So if Keith, you have nothing to comment on with this?
I guess maybe I'm confused on just what
a home occupation permit is?
Well, somebody answer?
Okay,
It sounds like it's very straightforward, but.
just let me close the public hearing and then we'll answer that once we get out of the public hearing. Because the very next thing we're gonna do is talk about this resolution. Okay, so, if there's no more public comments, I will take a motion to close the public hearing and return to the public meeting.
I move we close the public hearing and return to the public meeting.
Thank you, Leroy. I second that. All in favor?
I,
Okay. All right, so, we will go on to the new business. We'll go ahead and do the resolution to amend the town fee schedule first, this number 2, since that was the last one and you had a question on it. We'll answer, go ahead and answer that and then get to the water rates. So go ahead, Heath, with what you were gonna say.
So there are, land use regulation scheme under Hulu, which is the Virgin Uniform Land Use Board. We allow for the issuance of business licenses to businesses in a zone commercial. In a commercial zone or something, we have a couple of zones that have that. We have a highway resort zone that allows, we have a commercial zone. We used to have a resort zone. And in those zones, if you apply for a building or for a business license, you get one. But if you're wanting to do business in a residential zone that was meant to be residential only, then we make the business owner, homeowner, go one step further and they have to apply for a home occupation license. And in that, the review is, and the analysis that is done is, okay, what kind of burden is this placing on the neighborhood? Is there going to be an increase in traffic, parking, deliveries? Is there going to be exterior storage of goods or supplies? Is there going to be, is there an attempt to do some sort of retail from there? Those types of things. And there will be special conditions placed on that so that it doesn't burden the neighbors. And sometimes home occupation permits are denied because of the intensity of the proposed use. But a condition of getting that home occupation permit is you have to apply for a good business license or anybody else. So it is a two-step process in Virgin, and I think the intent behind it has always been to kind of preserve our residential areas as being more residential in nature. But because it's a business type use, it's not a conditional use, like one time, okay, you can have a welding business in your garage. And we give you a permit and it stays with that home forever, no. It is a year-to-year permit, you have to get renewed every year. And if there's been complaints from neighbors that, hey, you're storing all of your steel outside the house in your front yard and stuff like that, and we're smelling smoke and bad things, then that would be something that the town would consider a granting renewal. They might put some additional conditions on it. That's why it's annual. So that's what part of what they're trying to change this fee is that the annual renewal is $50 as opposed to the first one, and the initial fee is $100.
So what about, Crystal, since you do our business licenses, what about Sean's question, where he's asking, is this annual renewal fee of $50 going to be in addition? Do they also have a business license? They'll have to renew the business license and the home occupation fee both.
And yes, and the reason being is because you're trying to do a business in a residential area.
I just want to get an answer to Sean's question. Okay, so Leroy, you said you had something you wanted to reply to Sean.
yeah, I just wanted to make, to help Sean, feeling better about, the rate increase to water.
Oh, wait till we get to the rate, the water thing. We're talking about how much the fees right now.
That's what I.
So we'll get to that in just a sec. So, I do think that Sean's question about the, conditional use permit fee, if that's only for those who have to go through the DRC review. Because we do have a couple of things in our ordinances where, for example, when you look at the RHF permit and the, short-term rental in chapter 60, it says the short-term rental, is a conditional use. Yet it does not go to DRC. So we're not gonna charge them a conditional use permit fee. It's really just, the fee for the short-term rental permit, but it's not a conditional use fee and they don't go to DRC, even though it's called a conditional use. I have to, but I have no objection to us going through and looking at the different things that Sean had suggested and maybe come up with some slightly different fees if, instead of the $1,000 fee, if all they're doing is changing the use, or we can look at that.
But what if someone wants to use a house or a structure and they want it to become like a server farm or a computer network company? And we obviously need or amount of power to analyze what is the current infrastructure and whether it can, or whether they're gonna have to upgrade. You know, the service going into that structure. There are definitely things where changes of uses have effects on utility providers and the city to the extent of the utilities or transportation, roads and stuff like that it provides.
Yes, but I think in something like the situation you just, put forward, it would have to go to DRC and be reviewed.
It always will.
Yes,
Any change in use that requires a new conditional use permit.
we'll go to DRC. Okay, all right, yes.
I think too, one of the problems with having this one-time fee is if somebody either moves from their home into a business location, there's no way that the tenant's gonna know that they change locations, or if they stop operating the business and come back later and want to do it again. They can say, oh, I got this 20 years ago and now I'm restarting. I think the annual, whether there's a fee attached or not, there should be some annual process for a new.
Okay, okay, that's a good idea. And so if basically if they don't come in and renew, they're gonna lose their business, they won't be able to renew their
It's
business.
never meant to be perpetual that runs the land, it's just like a business license, it's an annual thing, you don't renew it, you don't have a business license.
Okay, well, are you gonna say something?
Yeah, I do have a question about, third-party review on, E and C structural review and MEP review. To be determined by engineers, so the engineer's gonna, is that based on an hourly rate, or how's that gonna work for that application?
Each time, so we had an example just now where this has come up. And this is partly why we changed this, is because we got a bid for doing a third-party review of the Labrie gas station. And to do the civil review, the structural review, and the MEP review, their fee was $17,000. And it was shocking to get this proposal.
So the way most cities fall, that I see, at least in Washington County does it, is that, on stuff where the third-party review company will not quote a flat fee, which they will do flat fee oftentimes on a civil review, for a residential building permit. Very simple process, and they might even do it on a structural, but things that, oftentimes have dependency on size and the type of use that they need to be reviewing. You submit your plans, the municipality ships it over to the, third-party review company, they give a quote, and then the building department normally goes back to the applicant, says, third-party review fees are gonna be X. They get the approval, and then they authorize the third-party review company to start the review, so that beforehand, the applicant knows they are paying a $17,000 fee. However, the thing you have to recognize is that we don't have staff, or even our building inspector has well, St. George City, I mean, they don't do, even though they have a full-blown, engineering department, they don't do their own structural or civil engineering reviews of a commercial building. That stuff automatically just goes straight to the permitting company, get the quote, they inform the applicant authorizes and proceed.
Do you want to add
Yeah.
what we talked about with Will Reed?
Yeah, so in the instance where this came back, this is astronomical, for what it should be. I should speak in the mic, sorry. Is there, we don't have anything in our ordinances about third-party review other than some fees at this point, but I'm wondering, is there anything that stops the developer from saying, no, I would like to get my own third-party review through a different company?
Yeah, St. George City, and I know that in Tocqueville, who I represent, they just went to an engineering pool. So they have a pool of, I think there are 4 different engineering companies that do third-party reviews. And, they either will circulate it on round robin, or if someone questions, they will recirculate to another 1 or 2 for a.
Well, I know we had contracted with Ensign to do our third party reviews, we signed a contract with them. And what they did is they sent this out to 3 different engineering companies to come back with basically a bid to do the third party reviews. And the 3 companies they sent them out to, only 1 responded, the other 2 said we're too busy, we don't even have time to do this. And this is the only bid that they got.
It's a common practice, I know in a lot of businesses, when you're really busy, you jack your prices up, so. Just looking for some guidance.
So I gave,
My purpose is that we almost need to look at, and it's something that we probably ought to work with the town's engineer, if he wants to give us, names, a list of 4 or 5 reputable plan review companies, engineering firms that do these types of reviews. We probably just ought to adopt by resolution, just kind of approve the list of. So if Mr. LaBrie doesn't like $17,000, say, okay, good quote. Any one of these other 5, and if one's less, and you want to go that route, go for it, they're on our approved list.
okay, because he asked, I gave the thing on to Gene to go see Liberty and get him to sign off and authorize this. And so he was asking if he could just choose somebody on his own.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I have a little bit of concern with that, because there's some guy who's a 4th-year engineer who's just gone out on his own, he's got a buddy who's structural, and they can come in and lowball anything. Okay, you can probably get it up for cheaper, but is it gonna be more confident?
And we've also wanted to do to a third party review contract. So you want the insurance in place, you want protection liability, so whoever those numbers are.
And I have prepared, and the Tocqueville City is getting everyone on their engineering pool to sign a standard agreement like that. Says, we agree, you're on our pool, you won't do any work until you're authorized, you'll give us quotes whenever we send you out a set of plans. And you're gonna carry X amount of insurance, you're gonna stamp as you do your review, these types of things, and I can reproduce that agreement very simply for the town. Do that too.
Okay.
I just don't know, I mean, I have an idea on a lot of engineering firms, but someone like our town's engineer could rattle off. Right,
So what do we do for Liberty, since he does not want to sign off, he does not want to agree to the $17,000, but there's no, but he wants to go to his own. But we don't have a pool.
Then just call
And make sure.
Carl, yeah.
and get 3 or 4 more names, and
Tell
get
him to
3 or 4 more names to Mr. LaBrie, but let's in the future get
Okay.
by resolution, a pool policy in place that will use these ones who make them sign an agreement with us, we know they're insured, we know they're bonded, we know.
Okay. All right,
Very good.
okay, so in the meantime, Paul, what does this do for, does this answer your questions about?
I think it's fine, I think we can proceed,
Okay,
and then we can proceed with the pooling type of arrangement when we're ready to add that to our fee resolutions.
Yeah, I know they're gonna be looking at either, Rosenberg or Sunrise or somebody that's right.
Yeah, and the brief that's gonna make the business decision, does he wait until we get that in place? Or does he go, and that becomes his business decision, waiting a couple months.
Well, and I think even until we have this policy firmly in place and an approved pool, or an approved engineering pool, we probably ought to just I don't have a problem with a landowner or developer questioning and balking at a seemingly high burden. But let's just have, for right now, our town engineer give us a list of 3 more names and have him go to one of those 3, and if he's willing to go with one of those 3. We just know we're gonna get a quality.
Okay.
Subject to that engineering firm signing an agreement beforehand. with us.
Yes,
So I just don't want to agree to go to one of the 3, get on board before we've approved.
the contract, okay. All right.
Chicken and egg.
Yes, because we did get a contract, this is where, we went to Labria's, we got a contract from the engineering firm for the 17,000 that was gonna do this, and I handed the contract off to Gene and said, go see Labria and just sign off.
I'm guessing that they're probably gonna be about similar. I don't know if it's gonna be.
But he might find some of those are legit. And if so, it's probably worth him asking the question and seeking a couple more quotes.
Okay, so, so we went ahead and talked about the fee schedule, but let's go back, the first one on the agenda that we were gonna do.
Well, since we're on the fee schedule, I'm gonna
Just vote on it, okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's vote on it then.
I move, for the approval of resolution R 2023. Do you have a number for that?
No.
So it'll be the next number for the resolution. I comes up.
Okay. This is the resolution to amend the Virgin Town fee schedule.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I will do a roll call vote on this one. So, Jean,
Yes.
Leroy,
Yes,
yes,
Sorry,
what?
I know you're calling for the vote. Can I make one request that the motion include a provision in the resolution that all other sections of our uniform fee schedule remains the same, because I don't want someone to argue that this is now
Our fee schedule, yes.
You know, it's only
Yeah.
5 cities.
Yes,
So you want to do your motion?
I'll take that as part of the amendment, yes.
Okay.
I'll take that as part of the resolution, as the motion.
Someone else said.
Second, I'll second.
Okay, all right. Jean,
Yes.
Leroy,
yes,
Jean, yes, Misty,
Yes,
Paul,
Aye.
okay. All right. So now we'll move on to talk about, item A1, which is a resolution to increase town water rates. And I had asked, Rod, I almost forgot your name, sorry, I was looking right at you, it's like, what's his name? I had asked Rod to come to the meeting tonight since he's the engineer on the, East Water Tank. And to address people's questions about the water rates. And I told him I wasn't sure how many people were gonna show up tonight, but just in case we had a packed house. I wanted him here to answer their questions and we didn't have a packed house, so. I'm not sure there's anything for you to answer, but I thank you for coming, but you still have to talk about the capital improvements plan too. So, you want to go ahead now and answer Sean's issues, Sean's questions?
yeah, Sean, to answer your issues, the state has required us with this loan to do a bond. And the bond requires us to, have in a trust account the annual payment. And then they also require us to have another trust account, you call it a trust account. That we will put 1/12 of the payment every month into that account. And they've also required us to have another trust account that we put 1/40 every year into to replace that tank at the end of 40 years. So, I hope by having those requirements in the bond, we have to take that increase to satisfy those requirements. Got any other questions, John?
So to clarify, the $5 increase will all 100% go to those accounts? or not?
Yes, it will. It has to go there or those accounts won't be funded.
They had actually told us they wanted us to raise rates $25 across the board. And we said, no, that's too much for residential, so we went through the water rates and figured out how we could get the amount of money for everything they asked us to put into an account every year. And, the way we came up and funded it was we increased residential only 5, but commercial by 30. And standby by 8. And that's how we worked it out to be able to fund the loan repayment every month, the amount you were saying, the 1/12 that goes into an account that we're supposed to fund, the maintenance and operations, everything. They were the ones who told us, you better come up with $25 across the board. And we jibbered it until we came up with something like this. So that residential only went up $5.
There.
Yes.
511 that was made during the public hearing.
Yes,
This is an increase in the base rate, but that is a modification to the 2019 resolution, which was the last time the city or the town fully changed its water rates and it adopted the tiered pricing system. It does not eliminate, Sean, the tiered rates above. Okay, I thought from your comment, I thought you were taking that we are going back to only a base rate,
no,
one size everything, and yeah, so this resolution is only modifying that portion of the 2019 resolution as it relates to base rates for residential, commercial, and the standby fee.
so to go to your statement that you asked after the loan was paid off, if the water rates would go back down. This is gonna take 30 years to pay off, so who knows what's gonna happen in 30 years?
The other question was, is any of the commercial impact fees going to go into this and pay it off sooner, was my comment.
That was not the plan, in my mind.
If we get new connections, it's gonna go towards it.
No, with the impact fees, not
We're talking
connection.
impact fees.
The impact fees have to be paid pursuant to our study.
Yeah, and so what I would say is, in answer to that question, and my advice to council is that, I know that Rod and his firm are discussing updating the town's capital facilities plans for the different things that, the town provides, one of them being culinary water service. We probably wouldn't do that. We will eliminate the East Water Tank as a capital project because we will be in the process of funding and building it by that point in time through a loan and not through impact fees. And so we can reallocate any impact fees that have been collected so far. While that was on our capital facilities plan, we can reallocate those funds to another use. So any new impact fees collected, nor anything that's been collected and that's in the town's restricted account will not be used for this project, but will be used on other water projects in our water capital facilities.
And we have plenty of
things that need to be.
Plenty of improvements that we need to make to the water system, and we need to use those impact fees, new ones coming in to utilize.
Okay, so with this resolution, I think we've answered all your questions, Sean? Okay. And we did not have any questions about the water rates from people online, any online questions, so, Paul, I will let you present your, questions that you had for Heath, and then we will talk about Heath's response to the changes that you want to make to the resolution.
Yeah, these were questions, for a motion to amend. Should we get to the point of adopting, so I'm ready to do the motion, I will either make the motion or amend the motion.
Well, I'm ready
Okay.
for us to make a motion. Is there any other discussion that we
Yeah.
need to have? Jean, do you think there's any more discussion? Leroy, no, me, no, Misty,
Yeah,
no.
my discussion is that, when it was $25 for every, residential and commercial account, then I think the decision was gonna be pretty hard. And at that point, it would have been a decision whether we do it or not do it. I realize that we have members in this community that are gonna be hit hard, because as you already mentioned, everybody else is raising their fees. We have a number of citizens and residents that are on fixed income. So I really do appreciate what this is gonna do to them, along with all the increases that they're experiencing in other fees and taxes to those on. $5 a month may not seem like much, but then you're looking at $60 a year, and that does affect our residents. But then I balance that against the need for the community of this water tank, and this water tank does a number of things. It does increase the pressure for citizens and residents on the east side of town, but it does also, I had a conversation with Rod, it does increase the pressure and flow water throughout the town, albeit many residents won't fill it, but it does increase that. It also provides additional water should we need to take a tank offline, and that allows us to do so. And it provides protection and fire protection if we should have a large event. And when we contacted the fire district, let's say there's a large fire at Fairfield, it would take at least 1,500 gallons per minute for a 2-hour duration of pumping to address those fire needs. So we clearly do need the water tank. So I'm in favor of the resolution,
Okay,
and I can make a motion.
okay, before that, Rod, is there anything you would like to add as to why we need the east water tank? And why we should, how it will benefit the town, beyond what, Paul has just said? If there's anything you wanna add, let me know.
I think Paul really handled most of the issues. The fact is, the need for this water tank has been part of our community's capital needs program since before I even started doing any projects here. So it's
And that was-
way over time.
And that was approximately 2015, I believe, when you started
Yeah.
working here. I mean, working as our town engineer.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I knew that this water tank has been a proposed project for years. We finally got, it took this long to get to this point. Okay, Paul.
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry. We were going to talk about your changes and your suggested changes and
He's putting up, my email with the modifications to.
I wondered what was going on.
Trying to get that.
I just forwarded the email to her and she can try to throw it out.
I did print off a copy for everyone. All the town council has a copy for the people in their audience to know.
Yeah.
Oh, look at
You
that.
know that.
Oh, you see that red Sox thing right there? Oh.
Ouch.
Ow.
Scroll down to where you see the red. So,
Not the IOB, but go down further. Down where it starts with A. That's all we really care about is A, B, and then down below it. The repealer and stuff. Okay, so A and B, and then we'll get down to this bottom part. Okay, Paul.
Can I make a motion? The motion's gonna.
Okay, you're gonna read all this.
So
Okay,
instead of
you're just
doing
gonna
it
read this.
twice, if that's all.
Okay,
Were you gonna read all this in your motion?
yes.
Yes.
I could not find my copy. I'm the one who typed this up. And I've gone through all my.
Or I
notes,
can
can't find it.
He
I think
saw
I
it,
put it on
I can reference the provisions out of his email.
you for the benefit of the
I think that's
record.
not true.
But I agree that you may want a standard repealer.
Yeah, that I'm not saying.
Maybe
Yeah, so I move that we adopt resolution R 2023, whichever is the next
Hold on,
resolution number.
hold on.
So I can't read it to see if there's any difference, but ours are numbered different. Ours are actually numbered, not lettered.
Ours are numbered 1 and 2, and there's A and B, but it's A
So I
and B.
can't read it to see if they match with my,
It's gonna be A and B.
right, but did these change because the numbers are different? I'm just questioning. because
No,
it-
No, they are not, they are not.
I was just using the lettering feature in Microsoft. And maybe if she's got set up when she reviews a Microsoft document or email, it uses her default preference, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of A, B, C, D.
It does not change. Everything is exactly the same. I'm reading the words, they're exactly the same.
Alright,
Okay.
So what's your preference, C one or A?
oh, honestly, I just wanted to make sure that they were not different because our numbers were.
A and B because we have A and
Match the resolution.
But the demo tab CD, yeah, I know, it's easy to do.
Okay.
Resolution R 2023, whatever the next number is gonna be with the following amendments. In the title of the resolution, delete the language amending ordinance number 14,121,714-1. So that would read a resolution increasing water rates. And then with respect to subparagraph A, delete these Virgin Town water rates will take effect January 1st, 2024. And changing it to read A, culinary water rates _, effective January 1st, 2024, parens, quote, implementation date, quote, parens, comma, the residential, commercial, culinary water-based rates and the standby culinary water rate shall be amended as follows, colon. Then this chart that's in the resolution now would remain the same. And then after the chart, it would read, I would also indicate in the table that the residential water-based rate is based on a detached single-family dwelling, parens capitalized as this is a defined term in plural parens, period. B, monthly base rate and additional usage allocation _, period. The monthly base rate and additional usage water allocation established in the Virgin Town Resolution R 2019-C shall remain in full force and effect. And then we'll add the standard paragraphs C, D, and E, which is the repeater, severability, and effective date clauses that we add to all our ordinances and
You can make,
resolutions.
Crystal, roll up the screen so that they can see what we're talking about, C, D, and E. The standard repealer, severability, and effective date, that's supposed to be there.
Yes, I caught that when you were reading it.
You caught what when you were reading?
Well, when I was reading this, I was reading the word for word what he said. I would also indicate in the table that the water-based rate is based on a detached single family
He just wants to say residential water.
somewhere in the table, then that paragraph will be, that sentence will be added.
Yes, after the table,
Without that.
yes, okay. Okay, I second, Paul's motion to amend the water rate, increase in water rates to, read with the, suggested changes from Heath. So, I will take a roll call vote on this one too, so I'll start with Paul.
Aye.
Misty,
Yes.
Jean, I, Leroy,
Aye.
and Jean. Okay, so now we're moving on to discuss the resolution adopting the revised Virgin Town employees for policies and procedures manual. So, so I contracted with Albert Foster. Do we, I have two different names with your company. Which one? With
On sale.
HR. Okay, all right, so this is Albert Foster, Facil, Facil HR, is FACIL is how that is spelled. And, Albert and I had many Zoom calls to go over our, policies and procedures manual and to come up with the one that you guys all looked at, and he's put in the suggested changes from Crystal and Misty and me and Paul. And then Jean, you indicated you had you wanted to talk a little bit today about independent contractor issues. You had wanted to bring it up before, and then you didn't. And I can tell you, I looked at the proposed manual this afternoon, and the very first, if you look at this very first section, I will hand this over to you. It talks about independent contractor, and it's only in this one little section, and this is it. So, Albert, this is Jean Garate, the town council member, and he had some issues that he wanted to address about independent contractor in this proposed manual. But let me hand this over to you and see what it says. Just this right now, that's it. What? Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, Albert came all the way down here today, as you said, but you were looking for any excuse to come to Southern Utah, so that's okay with him, but he's here to answer any questions that you guys have with regard to the proposed personnel manual. What's your name? Keith. Do you need me to, do you need me to email you a copy of this? Okay. So
I thought
It was discussed in a September meeting when I was here.
But
I had emailed her saying, where's a copy of the
proposed,
personnel manual in SharePoint for tonight's meeting, because there's a resolution approving it,
Mhm.
but what are we approving?
that was my comment that I was making the calls, I haven't seen the revised one. The revised one's
I was
with all the
able, she pointed
changes,
me to the
the
version
old
that was
one,
discussed in September, which is the old one.
and I
haven't
looked at
seen
that,
the
but I haven't seen the revised one either.
what?
Thank you. The only thing I'd ask is, that last section that discusses workers' comp, that's if applicable, have that.
This is B1 where it says town of Virgin should require evidence of workers' comp insurance or evidence of qualified self-insurance from all contractors. You're asking if that should be in there?
Or applicable, or if applicable, should be added.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the one I'm about to send to you was modified by Albert on October 20th, and we've made no changes since then. And these were only the changes that we talked about that were from Crystal and Paul. And let's see, send to Heath. Sorry, I thought it was in Apple Pages, and I'm like, no, but it's in Word. Okay, there you go. I know you're saying you haven't seen the changes, but
Not
the
that
way
we
we
not
put in the changes that
There's not-
you guys wanted,
right, but I didn't see it after it was finished. So,
there it is. It says September on it, but that's just because that's what was typed on there, but that's the one called. I believe that's the one with your changes. And Leroy, I sent that to you some time ago. Let me find where I sent you an email with the personnel manual, but I know I sent it to
Did
you.
you send it once the change?
I sent it to you over a month ago. Because I didn't want this to get held up yet again.
Yeah, that's the one I looked at.
Okay. I would have sent that in October.
I don't like to stick my nose into things I'm not confident with, so I haven't made any comments.
Well, then each person needs to read it on their own, but I'm fine with it. Other than I would like
Here.
that.
I sent it to you on October 30th. October 30th, I said, Leroy, here's the proposed personnel manual with the changes suggested by Paul, Mr. Christie, and me. If you have any changes, let me know.
Yeah, I got that.
And that I was asking Albert to come to the November 20th meeting to answer any last questions. So that we would be able to vote. And Heath, I am so sorry I did not send this to you.
I'm gonna trust in our consultant's competency, and if we need to make the revision in the future.
It really could be a living document, so if there are changes, it's not like we're carving this into stone.
Doesn't tell you,
so are you going to add, like, okay, so just to get the quickest one, we'll go to the dates.
okay, tell him what page and paragraph
Well,
he's
it's
got
just,
on his computer right
Page
here.
56, did you make the changes to the days off schedule for the holidays? There were some questions on the holidays, because we've taken away the day after Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve, which were traditionally done by our town. That's just the quickest change I know I can cover with us. Because I'm not questioning your competence, these are just interesting things.
Some of the change, I can tell you that some of the changes that were proposed that Albert, I can tell you, Misty, that some of the changes that you and Crystal proposed, that Albert and I talked about them, and he explained why he felt we should keep his language or his days. But, let me get to page 56 here, I'm still trying to.
56, we added the day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Veterans Day, Juneteenth, and Good Friday. I believe were the ones.
Paul's sharing the completed document that he saw, I'll look at it quick.
Oh, those were the ones with the, okay. That's on page
They're written on
56.
yours, but he's
Okay.
got the one that you sent him that's the original, I haven't seen it yet, so.
Let's see, the change is a different day. A different page. This is 16.3.
Crystal, of our changes, have you seen anything that was different?
No, I just put in, he and I went through every single page with your guys' suggestions and put them in. And, 16.3. Yeah, okay. So yes, we did put these in because this page here had 14 and we now have 17. So we have Christmas Eve, the day after Thanksgiving, Good Friday. Yes, they're all on here.
A lot of the changes are not, like, my changes were more of a superficial thing, and that's because they are beneficial for an employee morale. So a lot of the things that.
Hey, just a quick question, so once this is approved, do employees get back and re-sign?
Yeah.
So they'll have a chance to review it.
We need
Yeah.
a receipt acknowledgement to the manual. And also built by, we had received a copy and we reviewed it.
I wanted to look at one last thing that, Ruth talked about, had to do with, let me see what this section is, has to do with, taking time, like a lunch break. What section is that? And 28, yes, breaks and lunch periods. I think on that. Okay, so Crystal and I were talking about this the other day, about this, the language in here about taking breaks and a lunch period. And we have that for full-time employees, we have 2 15-minute breaks and then a 1-hour lunch period. But with our office only being open to the public from 9 to 2, no one wants to take a lunch break when the office is only open from 9 to 2. And they schedule like doctor's appointments, things like this after 2 o'clock. And sometimes Crystal will work until 5 o'clock or later. And on those days, she can certainly take a lunch break, but when we're only open from 9 to 2, typically no one has taken a lunch break, but I don't want us to get in trouble for full-time employees not taking a lunch break. So, it's easy for the public works, for Chase to take a lunch break because he's off, he works his 8-hour day, he can take his lunch whenever he wants. It's just different for the office staff. And I've already talked to Crystal about the fact that they've got to take 2 15-minute breaks, even between 9 to 2. I want them to get out and take a walk or something, just get out of the office and take their 2 breaks. But, is this going to get us in trouble, Keith, if they, don't take this 1-hour lunch break? No? Okay, I don't want something that's gonna be a requirement when they don't take these breaks, because of the way our office is.
You tell them no breaks stay.
What? No break stay? That's crazy.
There's no law that says employers have to offer breaks. With the exception of they can't forget to follow on the bathroom.
I just find that shocking that they're not required a
The
break.
biggest thing we would have to worry about is fair labor standards act for 8 hours a day. 12 hours a week.
Yeah, that's why I took out D, because that was a direct violation of that. Act.
So, that was your only issue about the independent contractor, or was there anything else you wanted?
No, I just want to make sure that the town had something in there to regulate your independent contractors.
And so you're okay with what it
Okay,
says?
I do think that it needs to have that one revision because not every contractor is going to have employees under them. Having workers' comp when you don't have that seems kind of silly to me.
So he was talking about 1.1 general policy D1 is where he was asked, that's what, Jean is asking about. 1.1 general policy and then D1.
Unless.
Oh, you're talking about D2, or are you talking about D1 or D2? Here, hand it over. D2,
D1.
D1 or D2?
You want.
D1. What about D2? Because you said sometimes they don't have employees.
Well, kind of, I just want to do it, I mean, having I get having insurance. A lot of contractors require to have that, I get that, but word, unless the state requires it. Because we take on, as a contractor, we take on all of our own. Liability. So there's just a clause that says the town's absolved of that, we're not gonna pay you holidays, you're not gonna do PTO, you're not getting all these extra perks, you're not an employee.
Oh, PTO.
Yeah.
That might have been.
You see its applicability to, like, if we have, if the town contracts for somebody to be in, dig ditches or something like that, with their employees, I have to see where it could have its place, but I just think it's gonna be case by case. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm a little out, see.
Yeah, that's about the extent of what I would want to put in an employee handbook about 1099 contractors, just because you want to stay as far away as possible, making them look like an employee in any way, shape, or form. So you don't dress them as an employee handbook.
So your recommendation would be to remove that section?
That section's fine, but that's not the extent of what I would put in there.
I think it's good to have it in there so that it says the town can have contractors in this relationship.
Okay, I did have one thing I wanted to bring up, and this is something that was brought up to me by Crystal recently. And I think, I'm looking at this as 16.2 vacation leave. I'm not asking you, I was just looking over here, I saw you guys talking. So 16.2 vacation leave. I had a question, because of something that Crystal asked me recently, and I think the way we have this written here is going to solve the question. But, this issue came up recently, I'll tell the story for Crystal. Where it involved PTO for someone and they had passed their 8th anniversary and we're moving into year 9, if I remember right, was this it? Oh, 8 to 9? And so this person had more vacation after 9, it said year 9 to whatever, they had this many days of vacation. So this person had moved past their anniversary date and were into their 9th year, and they took the amount of vacation that it said they got, and they got in trouble, and their supervisor saying, no, you don't get this vacation until you finish your 9th year, not while you're in your 9th year. And I looked at the way theirs were written, and I was like, okay, if you're going to follow the way they had, years 1 to 10, you had this, or 1 to 8 was this many, 9 to 15 was this. I said, if you took the way they were written, you wouldn't get any days off until you hit year 1. And that is just not how it is. You should be getting days off, your vacation, etc., from the day you start.
And they get it from the day they get it, their PTO from the day they start, and that's where they mess up.
And so, but there were things that 1 to 8, and so it was like, no, you should be able to get the vacations days that you have. Once you hit your 8th anniversary and you're into year 9, you should get those days. And so the way we have this written here, the vacation leave, I think we've resolved this, because you have annual leave for 1 month to 2 years. So that is all of year 1, all of year 2, you get 10 days. Then from 2 years to 10, I just want to make sure we do not end up in the same situation where we have someone in the future who's trying to tell someone, no, you don't get those dates until after you have finished your 9th year or whatever. I'm not sure if I'm messing you up or you're understanding what I'm telling you.
And the way that we have it would eliminate that as well, because it's based off of the rules of hours work, so it's not like they all of a sudden jump up in their bank. It's they just start accruing at a higher rate after those years of service.
Okay. Well, I kept this in my head the whole time, because I wanted to be sure we didn't.
That's the funny thing. Theirs is the exact same situation, they accrued the exact same way we accrued.
But when they hit their ninth year, he took some vacation,
Good
and they're
old
like,
sheriff's
no, no,
office
no.
just decided to
Okay.
take it all away,
Okay,
they're not here.
So
So
I just-
that's where it's at.
I just wanna make sure we were not, the way our personnel manual was written, we're not gonna end up in that situation at one day in the future.
So does ours say 0?
Ours says 1 month to, so you've got your
Oh, so
first
you're
30
fine, so
days.
you're fine then.
Yeah. And that's where I think it resolved that issue.
That's
It says
okay, yeah.
1 month.
Yeah, you're fine.
Otherwise, that was only my only issues. I wanted to make sure about the way the vacation days were put in there. But we didn't have that problem. Otherwise, I'm good to go with the, manual. So, Paul? You had some changes you wanted to make to the,
Not in the
Resolution?
only to the resolution.
so are we ready to vote on this? Jean, are we ready to vote?
I am.
Leroy?
I am.
I am, Misty? And Paul. Okay. So Paul, go ahead and make your motion with your change, suggested changes.
Okay, I move for adoption of resolution R 2023, whatever the next number is. With the following amendments, the first whereas, delete the first clause pursuant to section question mark of the charter of Region Town, so you delete that language and it would start whereas the town has the power to employ. And then also in paragraph 1, second sentence, delete the language as a general policy guide. So the first paragraph would read, paragraph 1, the Virgin Town Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, 2023 version is hereby adopted by reference as those set out herein word by word for all employees of the Virgin Town.
I will second, Paul's motion with his suggested, revisions to this resolution. So if we're ready to vote, I will start with Jean,
I,
Leroy,
Aye.
Jean, I, Misty,
No, because I did not see the revision that was in October.
okay, and Paul.
Aye.
Okay, so this resolution has passed, and we are now moving on to the rest of the things that are on the agenda are discussion items. And so there's nothing to vote on, these are just items that we will be discussing. Okay, so. Discussion. Item number 4. So. What do you guys have to report from your committee, your short-term rental, committee, what did you guys come up with? First of all, we don't have.
So I'm-
I'm gonna let you, okay, hold on just a minute. Let me find the copy of the ordinance that, submitted. So we're done with the personnel manual. Albert, if you're like, I am so leaving this meeting, feel free.
sorry, I'm for the coach, sorry about that.
Thank you for your hard work.
No problem. One of the worst policies I've ever read.
I've read words, huh?
Yeah.
Hold on just a minute, I'll tell you when I'm ready. Jean. Okay,
Okay, so our group has met twice now. Our last group meeting became, I think, we did some pretty amiable decisions and everybody had their input on. I think we will have this in document form ready for public comment in December. I don't have a copy of it because our scribe was sick and we haven't got that yet, so we should have that soon.
Okay, but do you know enough to be able to tell me what,
I don't, because the document got expanded, if there's a punch to it, I can just tell you we'll have it ready for public comment, but I don't have the notes. We gave all of our notes to the scribe and she was sick.
I understand, but I feel like the town council needs to look at these changes so that we can see whether or not we think that changes are significant enough that as a council, that it needs to go to, public hearing. And we haven't seen these proposed.
Since I don't have a copy, I can't speak to that, but I can tell you, I can assure you, it will need to go to public comment.
So my question would be, they need to go back to,
It does.
I mean,
That's what he's talking about, he says public comment
Technically,
like that.
saying it in a nutshell, because honestly, we don't have it in front of us, but it has evolved beyond
We decided
a scope
to,
that we need to start from where it is. We can go back to the old document, we have to go beyond that. So it's had significant enough changes that it would require.
we felt like the document, the original document addresses a lot, but that there's gaps that needed to be filled beyond that.
For the future,
Right, to make it for future development as well, so it got extended.
we didn't want to limit ourselves to just what's currently happening.
You're saying it needs to go back to P and Z.
For a public hearing.
I believe once every
So-
is in that.
So my ordinance that I proposed is still,
It's still your ordinance.
it's still my ordinance. So is this going to be a second proposed ordinance so that we ultimately have two different ordinances we're gonna be looking at?
Your ordinance is within this ordinance.
It would be that original ordinance that was started, expanded to cover additional things that weren't covered yet. Like future growth or future, well, yeah, future stuff that happens within the subdivisions to keep some control over that.
Okay, and what did you guys, what about the number of bedrooms and the number of occupants?
That's the part that I'm waiting on, because we discussed there were different things, but the idea was to make it on a sliding scale based on percentages within the subdivision. So for example, some houses could have a few more than others based on when we get started versus future. If that makes sense. So some are there with their permits ready to go, others have not even purchased land. The idea would be to say a certain percentage would be allowed a larger quantity and a lesser, the remaining would fall to a lower number. Do you remember, Misty? I'm sorry, I don't.
But.
So somebody who comes into a subdivision, a short-term rental subdivision, and is one of the first houses built, can have a lot of bedrooms and a lot of occupants, and then the others, as they come along, get less and less rooms and occupants?
Yes and no. Yes, it moderated from the beginning, though. I mean, trying to find a middle ground between what the homeowners want, what the town might want, is what we're trying to.
We're trying to set a date on it, basically, to where
Percentage.
you said the percent, so that it covers now and it covers the future, so we don't have to, we want to try to make it make sense, so it's not something we write for a minute and then have to rewrite.
Okay, I'll have to,
It'll make sense.
I
It'll make
will have
sense
to
once
see
you
what
see
this
it.
is.
Any good amount.
And what about addressing my concern, with the limit of bedrooms and occupants, that my point was, an RHF is only allowed to have 5 bedrooms and 10 people. Yet, we could have a short-term rental that has no one living on site, like you do with an RHF, but have more bedrooms and more people. It just seems completely unfair.
No, I get
And
it.
so, do you guys address that?
Yes, we did. We
Okay.
tried to address not only with that, but also putting a heavy onus on the companies that are managing this.
Yes.
And that's where it got expanded beyond, because once these are in place, regulating them is gonna be dependent on those companies that are providing the oversight for them. So in talking with other experts, what we came up with was that we want to put the onus on those companies heavily to make sure that they understand, should your people have X number of infractions or et cetera, you could lose the right to even have a permit at all. You'll see, it's a pretty good document.
Okay,
I feel pretty.
because I still feel it's unequal treatment between an RHF and a short-term rental. That one has somebody living on site and is limited to a smaller number of bedrooms than a building that has no one living on site, yet they get to have bigger bedrooms and more people. It just seems the complete opposite should be true. But we'll see what this is.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, that's what I have, we'll have something hopefully ready, well, not hopefully, we will have something ready for public comment in December. Hopefully we'll have a document next week, but we're still waiting to get strike and put it all together first.
okay, so, so we will, be sending this to planning commission then? Is everybody okay with that or what? That we send this off to planning commission?
I would have to remind the committee members, because I haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but they're saying it needs to go back, so gotta send it back then.
I don't think it's been, I think we originated it, but I think it doesn't stick with that. Well, I guess it's
Okay.
been original.
Just because I'm thinking how you didn't wanna go to the personnel manual because you haven't read the changes.
Right, and you guys.
But we're supposed to just take your word for it and send it
No,
on without having seen it.
No,
Well,
it's going downhill, not up, so I think once the planning and zoning looks at it and makes their recommendation to it, or changes it around how they want, then it comes to us, document that we can review and say, no, go back and fix it, or.
Okay.
the point was to get a document together for review. At this point, that's where we're at.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Okay, so,
Your concerns were heard.
okay. So the next is, I wanted us to discuss that we need to amend the budget in December. And I just want to talk a little bit about the, things that we're going to be amending the budget. We have a number of, things that we are spending money on, that we agreed to spend money on, that we need to, amend the budget. And I wanna do it, we'll have to set it for a public hearing and then do, the resolution to amend the budget in December. It would be. Last year I tried to do amendments every quarter. This year we did not do an amended budget at the end of, September, but so now this will have to cover any changes for the first 6 months. So I have here on that, we talked about contributing $20,000 to the groundwater protection study, and we need to put that in the budget. Leroy, I talked to Leroy about continuing on as treasurer, because I thought he's been doing a really good job as our town treasurer. So I asked him after he's not on town council anymore, if he would continue to be our town treasurer, and so we would need to come up with some sort of salary for, Leroy to continue on as the treasurer. Can't expect him to do it for free.
I heard it was like $500,000.
Yeah, I know, he asked for that this morning, because we could have $500,000. Crystal said she thought $500,000 salary for everybody was great. Okay.
I seconded it.
Yeah, she's like, sure.
Sorry.
There was something.
Well, you couldn't write a check.
Good try though.
There was something we were talking about earlier, where I thought, oh, that needs to go in the budget too. What was it? Because I looked at you and I said, we need to put that in the budget. We have to do with water tank, we have to do with, fee increases, it didn't have to do with the personnel manual. So that, I've still got that, there's something else, what? I have Public Works is on here to talk about, but there was,
Yes.
what?
More in legal fees.
Oh, more on legal fees, hey, oh, I was gonna say, I looked at our budget here, we're doing pretty good on attorney's fees. On what we budgeted versus what we spent. This will come back to me before next month, before we do this next month, I know. What I was thinking of a little while ago will come back to me, but something we need to add for the budget. Okay, let's see, I'm on page.
Well, I don't know about attorney fees, we're over in what we budgeted.
For attorney's fees?
Yeah,
No, we're not.
well, we should be at 33% and we're at 39%.
Yeah, I know, but I'm also looking at the fact that we budgeted this much money. And we've budgeted that much, and we've only spent
Yeah,
that.
I know, I'm looking
I
at
know
here
you are.
today. I'm just giving you.
Oh, okay, you're just giving me a hard, okay, you're gonna eat the bad time. Okay. Okay, and then also I have, we need to amend, employee salaries. When we were, doing some Christmas bonuses recently, Sil said, you didn't put this in the budget. So we need to increase, for the amount of Christmas bonuses we're doing. And then, the town hall renovation that was brought up, Leroy brought that up. And then also I have here new doors for the town hall. We're gonna be getting some bids to get some new doors, because those doors are old and could be kicked in. Anybody just walking there and kick that door down, so we need new doors. And then what I don't have on here is Public Works. Back when Bruce was mayor, Chris asked for another person in Public Works to help, and Bruce said no, because we didn't have money. And then he asked again when Matt was mayor, and Matt said no, but I wasn't there, so I don't know Matt's reasoning for saying no. And then when Dan was hired, Dan asked for, also for someone to help. And I did not go through with hiring someone, I had my reasons. And then, now Chase has started, and Chase has asked for help, so we've had 4 requests from different, public works people saying, this is too much for one person to do. And Jim just does parks, he was not hired to be Chase's assistant, he was hired to handle parks. So, I put on here for us to potentially put in the budget for hiring another public works person. And I happen to, what I did, we'll talk about this some more next month, but I asked Jim and Chase both to write down for me, and they both have given me their pages and pages of what they do, what they get called away to do that keeps them, what they spend most of their time doing, and what it is that keeps, what they can't get to because they spend so much time doing other things. And out of all their list of things, what do they not get done because they're doing other things to justify if we can hire a third person and or an assistant for our public works guy. And in the meantime, one of Chase's big concerns at this time, he's given me a long list here of other things, but his main issue is that if he wants to go away on vacation or the weekends, he's just worried the whole time. What if something happens with the water system and he's not here? And he would like for someone to be available to cover him. And I had mentioned this with Albert in one of our Zoom calls. And he had suggested that we consider doing like an independent contractor agreement with someone who would fill in when, that this would be an interim measure while we decide about whether or not to hire another person. That we could do an independent contractor who would be on call should there be water issues while Chase is gone. And so that was a temporary solution while we discuss. And so I got this from Jim and from Chase, laying out their issues, but I need to go over it with them. And so I'll talk to them more between now and the December meeting. And then I will talk with each of you with what comes up there. I just want you guys to know that there's been a request. And this request came months ago, and I'm just now getting ready to address it.
Could we get a list of that, this?
Yeah, you mean these that I have here? Well, I wanna take this and put it in a different format,
That's fine,
and then I'll let you see
I'd
it.
just like to see that.
Yeah,
So this would be a change for this year and not next budget year.
correct. That would be a change, whether we could hire someone starting, I don't know, February or something, but,
Are we talking full-time or part-time, or have you got,
that's what we all have to decide.
what do you think the needs are based on what you've seen?
Well, what happens is one of the main concerns that both Jim and Chase expressed is that, if Jim's not available to help, which he shouldn't be helping, he does parks, he was hired to do parks, not to be Chase's assistant. That sometimes there's things come up that Chase needs to go do, and it is unsafe for him to be alone. There's got to be somebody else there. And sometimes Jim's off doing parks, and it takes him away from parks to go help Chase. Or, maybe it's Jim's day off, because Jim doesn't work every day. So who goes to help? So with Dan, we were calling Kenny or
Myself,
Kenny's son or you or Leroy to go help. But Chase is just asking for help. And so I will go over this to figure out if this is a part-time or full-time, but the issue is, well, if he has somebody who's part-time, they may be off and there could be an issue come up and there's Chase by himself trying to do a project, trying to repair something in an unsafe manner because there's no one to help, so.
from Chris down to. Since
Chase.
I've been in, from Chris down to Chase, we've always had that concern of like if they're digging a hole, water line to depth, having a stick person do that. On the vacation thing, I still would like to explore the idea of reciprocity with a sister town, because it would put us too deep on understanding each other's water. I don't know if that's possible, but I think we can both explore.
Okay,
I know that recently Chase, had to make a whole trip to the water tanks because the system that reports to his phone
yes,
wasn't
got
working.
it.
So we had to go up to each tank and monitor personally to make sure that it was filling and there was sufficient water.
Mhm.
And so I think one weekend he did that,
Yes,
yeah, so.
so there's.
I can see there is a need.
Yeah, so I just want us to address the need. And so I wanted to bring it up now, we can talk about it more between now and the December meeting, and then see what we do. But I'll take this, put this into a different format, and let you guys all look at it. Okay? All right. And so then, I don't know where the groundwater protection study is going to go. We don't need to decide that today. I just wanted you guys to know we're going to be amending the budget in December, and here are all these issues that we need to be addressing. And that's all this was for. And the town hall renovation, we had $125,000 in the budget for doing the roof and the air conditioning. Some of it was done before in last budget year and then some in this year. And I do not know exactly what we put into the budget for this year. because of figured out from last year, this year. And I actually had a report that I had to turn in to the granting agency. I had a report that I had to turn in to them at the end of June. So I actually have this, spreadsheet that I had to turn in to them that showed how much we had in the budget, what we've actually spent, what was remaining to be spent. And so that's actually probably what should have gone into the budget for this year. So I will be putting all of that together for, next month for us to vote on. And then the last thing that has to do with money, we put in the budget last year we put $17,000 in our budget to increase the, to fix this, update the kitchen. And so I've got pricing on that. We've not done anything with the kitchen yet, but I've got pricing on that. And I've got one thing that I will need to get your guys' approval. The ranges and the hoods come to $10,896, and I got 4 bids. And the only difference is $200 between the 4 bids. But it's $10,896 for the 2 ranges and the 2 hoods. And so my spending authority is 10, so I need approval from you guys to spend this additional 1,000.
Is that installing and everything?
That's buying that's the equipment.
That's the.
The guy who's going to do, the contractor is giving me a bid of $2,400 to do what I need them to do. And I still have to get a bid from the electrician, an estimate, not a bid, an estimate of what it's gonna take to install 2 more plugs in there. And then I was told that we have to have an air conditioning guy do the ducting for the hoods.
Yeah.
So we still have 3,704 on the what we budgeted. So I can't imagine the electrician and the air conditioning guy are gonna take that much. But I just need approval from you guys for an additional $1,000 to get the ranges and the hoods. But we're still under budget on that. So that has nothing to do with the budget. That is just asking you guys, I'll check with you after this, because I need to place the order. So they're going to get in until the end of December, even if I order them right now. And this is planned to be done by the end of January. The contractor said he can do it. It's all planned to be done by the end of January. We have the first reservation we have for reserving this place for a wedding or something that's in February. So it's done right now. So I just want to talk about that, and then we'll be ready to talk about capital improvements as our next year. Unless you guys have anything you want to ask about the budget. Yes, yes. I would like to be able to place the order tomorrow or Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving, get the order placed for those things. So, Paul, you have any objection to an additional 1,000? Well, it's not an additional 1,000, it's for me to go over my spending authority 5,000.
I think the way it's worded is if it's not in the budget, isn't that right?
It's in the budget, we budgeted $17,000 to do this, and we're
What I'm
only.
saying is that $1,000 you're asking for is in the budget. You already-
It's in the budget, I just wasn't sure because this is over my spending authority for this specific issue.
I don't have a procurement policy with me to agree, but I would assume we can say go ahead and then ratify it next
Next time,
time. Is that how you do it?
if he has a copy of it for you right here. I just wasn't sure, even if it's in the budget. Even if it's in the
I
budget.
think if it's in the
over
budget,
5,000,
It's in the budget, then you're okay.
I.
But we'll let an attorney look at it for you.
It's not.
It's not, but
If it's in the budget,
it's in
and
the
it's over
budget.
10,000, still in council.
Okay,
It still goes to the council, okay.
Yeah, still needs to go well, so.
yeah, I thought so.
You want me to make a motion?
Sure.
The other way around, Leroy is correct, it's less than 10,000, and it's in the budget, she
Yes,
can do it.
exactly.
But it's not on the agenda, so.
No, but this is something where I just poll you guys and you guys say
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm here, we're all here, we might as well just poll everybody.
And then put it on the agenda for.
I wanna order this stuff, oh, I see,
For afterwards to ratify.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay,
When proper notice.
Yeah, I just,
okay.
I'm all right with saying go ahead.
Okay,
Just
wait,
make sure
wait,
you
you
do
have, you're gonna do that, okay,
Next meeting.
okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and order this 2 ranges and the 2 hoods for the kitchen. Tomorrow. Or Wednesday,
And I'll just put it on the standard budget.
but Jen. Hey, you guys, you're sitting there making fun of us.
No.
Okay. Okay, the next thing on here is I wanted to go over with you guys where we are, where the capital improvements committee has gotten with the work we've been doing on capital improvements. And, I don't know that there's nothing for you guys to, make decisions on, it's just we're bringing you up to date. Where we are with the capital improvements.
Although we all have to make a decision to adopt whatever plan.
The capital improvement plan?
Yeah.
Yes, and I have here. Review of capital improvements, town council will need to approve and adopt at December meeting. Just bringing you guys up to date and we'll vote on it in December, if it's ready to vote, depending on what you guys think. So I gave you both. Everybody's, is this not in your packet?
The 1 year and 5 years in the packets.
These?
Yeah, this is.
No, those aren't in the packet.
That's what you said, these aren't in the packet.
The mayor did these two, and then what you have, Leroy, is something I threw together afterwards.
Yeah, this is what did not make it in the packet.
Oh, I didn't make
The copies, I thought they were for our packets, because we had several copies, but they were for a meeting that we had today with, Chase and, Rod and me and Monica. These were for that. I thought these were to go on our town council.
Okay, well, then what I submitted would also work too,
Okay,
because it's basically a 5-year plan. I just put it on the spreadsheets. And so it's a 5-year plan with a big spreadsheet, and then you got each of the plans. One for parks, one for, I think, did each of those separate ones get in? The spreadsheet, the parks spreadsheet for the
Your 5 year plan?
did you have a separate spreadsheet for parks and a separate
separate
spreadsheet?
spreadsheet for parks.
No.
Separate,
Are you
okay.
talking about your 5 year plan that you sent me?
Yeah, but there was also
Excel?
There were 2
There
more
were also-
plans.
5 other spreadsheets with it, so that didn't get in.
Well, yeah, Parks and Recs in this one.
Yeah, there's Parks and Recs and everything.
It's all in there, it's
He
all.
had a separate plan for parks.
What? I got the master one, what you have is the master one, and then there's one for each separate one. So,
Was that all in the one email that you sent to Crystal? with the
yeah, it's in the
attachments?
one email, but it's not in.
So how many attachments were there when you sent Crystal the spreadsheet? How many attachments?
There is, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
6 attachments.
6 attachments.
There's sheets,
There's
there's
these, different
a
sheds.
lot of attachments.
And building is 0 because we don't have any for buildings.
No.
So we have the capital improvements 5-year plan that has everything, and then each of these is split under streets, parks, water, buildings, and other. so you can see them under year one, just a different format.
So it's all on here,
It's all on
but
there.
we
It's all-
condensed it for each group into a condensed sheet.
Okay,
This one is condensed,
No,
right?
That's the master.
this is master, this is the big one, the other one's condensed.
all right,
So what I'll do is put in SharePoint, the spreadsheet, and then I'll also, put each of the separate ones into a PDF so you can see it.
okay. Well, what we did today, when we had our meeting with Chase, and we went over, the 1 year capital improvement list, we did not go over the 5 year, we ran out of time. Took too long. We went over everything that is listed in year one on your spreadsheet.
Where's the one?
Okay. We went over everything that is on year one and we sorted through and, went project by project and we came up with the steps for each project for how we're going to, what we're going to be doing for each of these and how we're going to do them step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. What do you, what?
What is it? I'm fixing this question.
Okay, okay. So, what we're going to be doing for year one, next year, 2024, we are going to be working on quite a few roads and doing storm drainage issues. And so the first thing we're going to do is apply yet again, third time, for a stormwater drainage grant. Third time we will be applying for this thing. And, we decided what we're going to do with all the ones that are roads, because there's so many, that we will group them together as a project and we will ask is it CIB or CD? It's not CDBG, will it be CIB that we're going to apply for a grant? Is that what we agreed, Ron? It's not CDBG,
CID.
Yeah.
CIB.
It's CIB, but the road stuff, there's no intent to apply for it, yeah.
The road stuff, we will just fund out of our own. Okay. He felt like a lot of this stuff we could do in-house, that we did not need to, go out and get, a company to do. But at the same time, the different roads, we're going to go and get some bids from, like Interstate Rock, to come and do all of the roads at once, instead of just doing this road 50 south, and then later we'll get to 165 north, and then we'll, do all the different drainage issues. We decided we're just going to put them all together and go get bids from, like Interstate Rock. So I just wanted you guys to know where we are with, the capital improvements committee and what we've been working on. And we did not get to the 5-year plan today as we were, what is on years 2, 3, 4, 5, we did not get to that today. It was enough to try to figure out all the different steps for everything that we need to do in year one. So I've got all the different steps written down here that they're going to be taking to do each of these. And so we figured that Chase can get started on several of these all at the same time. And okay, here's one, yet again, another one that I have to come to town council and get you guys to approve. The shade sale that we want to get for the park, we put that in the budget, but it's over my $10,000 spending limit. So we would have to get that approved from the town council. I see that in here. So any questions you guys have on this capital improvements plan, anything you guys think we have left off that you're aware of yourself driving around town that you think needs to be done? Right now, we're just talking about what we're gonna do next year. From what I was going over here with the different roads. What do you want to talk about, Paul? Because you put together this spreadsheet.
The only thing that I would have to say is that, according to our policy, we need to adopt a 5-year plan, which includes year one.
Okay,
And the council can decide what they want under year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that, I assume that'd be at the December meeting or.
that's fine,
whenever you
for the
want to set it.
December meeting.
Yeah, whenever you want to set it, I'll prepare a resolution for it if you want.
Okay, so,
And I'll just put all these slides up on SharePoint so everybody can take a look at it. Since some of them didn't make it to the file.
I'm putting it in the SharePoint.
you're putting it in SharePoint right now? Okay. I'll have to go over this with you, when we went over some stuff with, Chase today. Some of the things that's on year 1 have already been done, or partially done. Some have been partially done. For example, the pavement quality survey, they've already gotten started on that. And we're not gonna hire an outside company to do that. We're doing that in-house and they've already gotten started on that. And, yes,
Yeah,
this,
I mean, you can put them under year 1 and when you get completed, if they get completed before year 1, which starts next year, next July.
no, I'm talking annual, I'm not talking, fiscal year. When I talk about year 1, I'm not talking about fiscal year, I'm talking about starting January 2024.
Yeah, and if they get, well, the policy is based on fiscal year, because they're tied to the budget. And so what you want to do is know what the expenses are for the capital improvements for that year. So if they get done ahead of time, great, and you don't have to budget for them the next year. I don't see, at least Leroy, I don't think there's an issue while we draft it. And if they get done early.
Get it done.
Yeah, because I figured we had enough money in the budget for,
but
in the accounts for some of these
We'll just put
roads
them
that
in
get
year
done.
year 1, and if they get done, they're done early.
All right, so there's that, so you guys can all review that and see what you think about where we are with the capital improvements, what the committee has done so far. Okay. So that leaves us now, we've got 45 minutes left to talk about items 7 and 8. Do you have anything else about capital improvements for the year on? Okay. I thought maybe you had something you saw, but should have been.
She's giving an Excel lesson.
Oh,
Fixing it for, because it was happening this for 11. So I fixed it, so we wouldn't have to start inside.
I know Excel, I'm not good with that kind of stuff.
I'm just self-taught, so when I find out other tips, I like to learn.
Was there anything you want to add, Rod, for what we talked about with regard to capital improvement, something you think we did not talk about?
I can just add some comments.
Okay.
So I didn't have a chance to, look over the list with, Chase and whatnot. What I want to say initially is, I thought that the work that the, CIC did was very commendable. This is a great jump start for a lot of, a way to assess the needs of the town, through, a town-derived committee. I like what you guys have got going there. Aside from that, we will be making a more distinct, but we'll be differentiating the 1 and 5 year plan and some of the other things that the committee is doing a little differently than how it's been done, because I can see that they have the, what shall I say, the gas in the tank. And what would be really great is to actually ask them to even look deeper into the program and not specifically to just 1 and 5.
Okay.
And help us with that part. But I thought what's been done has been really, really nicely done. And we'll be way ready to go. The forms we have to spend stuff for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
they're all in the SharePoint folder under the December meeting and CIP folder.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Okay, so that leaves, items 7 and 8, for us to discuss. So. Item 7 is. Keith, we will be needing your input on this one. Item 7, this is a proposal by Sean that we amend, the section of town code that has to do with the residential hosting facilities, that, appeals go to the, town council as the land use authority instead of the, appeal authority as a first step. So that's what this is.
Residential hosting permits are granted by the county.
No.
Staff,
Staff.
you can do that.
Well, we've been moving away from the town council being the appeal authority on anything, being the one who hears appeals, moving everything to the appeal authority.
Yeah.
And one of the
I'll tell you
reasons,
my opinion and the reasoning for doing that is that although the council is, everyone's local residents. However, I have seen in the municipalities I represent, using a third-party appeal authority, a singular individual who's law trained, has reduced the amount of appeals that aggrieved applicants who have the right to appeal in certain settings, actually appeal the council's decision onto district court less if it is the appeal authority instead of the council. And there's no slight on the council, it's only been that the appeal authority, which familiar with Utah municipal law, understands and or can look closely at our code, make its decisions are usually a little more thought out and properly reasoned in the sense that it stands up to judicial scrutiny of every challenge. And so, again, it is, do we want to have our elected officials or do we want to have an appointed official like an appeal authority who's not a resident making these types of decisions? My advice and what I've seen in other municipalities, a lot of them are doing this, they're moving it.
appeal authority.
Is this mutually exclusive? Because that's not the way I'm reading it, but if you look at those two ordinances on that. Because
What
it
is
seems
the-
like it's saying you can do the town council, and if you're not pleased with them, then you can take it to that.
I didn't agree with that.
Yeah, it says, it's saying here, first level is go to the town council and then subsequent appeals will go to the appeal authority. But we have been moving,
That would be contrary to state law, which indicates that a person, in order to have standing to appeal to district court, has to exhaust administrative remedies. And it says that the municipality needs to have an appeal body appointed. It does not say you could have multiple appeal bodies appointed. And so I would question whether or not this language kind of contemplates a two-step process. First, appeal to the council, then if you don't like the council's decision, you go to the appeal authority. And then by state law, we know that they would have the right to appeal to district court. I don't know that this two-step process, and frankly, I don't see it in any other municipalities that I'm representing or that I've interacted and involved with. And I interact with almost all the municipalities in Washington County and several other counties, but so I wouldn't advise it. I don't know that it complies with state law. And it's really a matter of, do you want to make your council your appeal authority on this type of issue, or do you want to make our appeal authority that right now we utilize Bruce Jenkins, who's the attorney in St. George, who we use Bruce, who we use the council. I guess we say to be our appeal authority.
he holds the title of appeal authority, and I know that a lot of our other ordinances appeals of any administrative decision, whether to grant a permit or not, goes to him. If staff denies a permit, it goes to the appeal authority, not the council.
Because with doing it this way, this would be the only thing at this point in time in our entire code that goes to the town council. Everything else is now goes to the appeal
But
authority.
I can think offhand right now, and this one is.
What?
CMPs.
They do
Yeah,
not
you're
go
right.
to town council.
Yeah, conditional use permits do go to council.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
They do not.
By ordinance.
No, they don't.
They do.
Conditional use
That
permits
is, just the appeal,
should,
just the appeal.
goes to the appeal authority. We changed the code earlier this year. It does not go to town council. We specifically took out town council from conditional use. We specifically went to appeal authority.
That was where you guys changed it, you guys changed it.
Yeah, we changed it. We changed it like April, March. It goes
Changed it to everything going to.
appeal authority, so at that point in time, by April, every single thing in our code went to the appeal authority, nothing goes to town council. This would be taking a step back. Going back to town council to, for an appeal.
That was part of it. Having to go about finding its own commission.
Yes, and then
And then I went to the appeal
appeal authority.
We did talk about having the town council decide it, and then we changed it to have everything go to the appeal authority.
Need to speak this out, if you don't mind, so I can kind of work through it. I can see where Sean is coming from. If we use hypotheticals, and so this is hypotheticals, okay, so let's say we have a restaurant wants to come into town. And we have a mayor that says, I do not want restaurants, period, and so I'm going to deny this. Then that person then has to go to the appeal authority, which goes past the council, which is fine in the one scenario. And the concern is we're talking about our residents or people who are living here barely being able to afford $5 for a water bill, but now they're gonna pay thousands for an attorney to appeal their right. On the other token, and this is why I will vote against this, Sean, is that in the event that you have a council that has to make something, and it's appealed to the council, you're never gonna get anywhere that goes straight to district court, whereas if you put it to a third party that's, even if it costs, they don't have skin in the game. Bruce Jenkins doesn't care one way or another what we do in our town. So that's where I see it as being.
To add on to your comment, is the council gonna ask all the right questions and make all the right findings?
Or say things that are gonna limit us.
Yeah, I look at having someone who's law trained be the appeal authority, almost like Judge Walker. Do we remember people's court? He asked the questions and he basically, and I don't know that utilizing an appeal authority makes it any less pro se appellant friendly or not. I don't think you have to have counsel to represent you in front of the appeal authority. Bruce Jenkins, and I've utilized Bruce in 2 other municipalities. He's currently the appeal authority, and I know that he's like Kane County Appeal Authority, and he's done it in other places. He'll ask if someone is unrepresented, he will get the information out of them, whether it is presented by an attorney or whether he has to ask the applicant questions. He will get what he needs to know to make the right decision. So I don't know that to say that using appeal authority makes it more of an expensive process, other than you do have to pay.
The town's side, you lose.
Well, you have to pay for the appeal authority.
The appeal authority speak.
Where
we
the
also have
council,
something that the town, if they lose the appeal, then they're responsible for the town's portion of the cost.
You don't have anything like that.
I am gonna tell you right now, my biggest thing that I'm gonna hold over this whole deal is I'm gonna tell Bruce Jenkins you call him Judge Walker. I'm just joking.
No,
No, that's what I see.
when I was on town council, we had an issue that had to go to the town council's decision was appealed to the Board of Adjustment. And this was right before we went to an appeal authority. And the Board of Adjustment, he had to come to the town and train the Board of Adjustment he had multiple meetings with the Board of Adjustment to tell them what they had to look at, what they had to ask, what they had to do here, what they had to do there. Then we had the actual Board of Adjustment hearing where Heath represented the town. And it's like, the amount of time that was spent to get the Board of Adjustment trained and know how to listen to something that Bruce Jenkins can do in his sleep it was crazy. And it was after that we went to an appeal authority, so that we didn't have to ever go through that again.
I just, and I'm not arguing for or against, I'm just trying to play it out, but if you have a mayor that's rogue, then it bypasses the council, but if you have a council that's very
Right.
set in their ways, then you lose the right there as well, so that's why I'm saying I think it's wise to go to a third party in all cases.
I think,
Don't take that, I said hypothetical.
I
I
understand.
understand what I'm saying.
The other thing is that one of the arguments that is why we went to an appeal authority instead of the Board of Adjustment, where we got rid of the whole Board of Adjustment chapter and went to an appeal authority, is because in a small town, what ultimately you have is your neighbors that you're appealing to for a decision. And this way you have the objective third party, as you said, has no skin in the game for anything that happens in Virgin, because he doesn't live here. And he's the objective third party that is making the decisions, instead of asking your neighbors to make the decision about you. And so that was a big argument, and I say the same thing here, even if the town council is serving as the appeal, you still are deciding an issue for your neighbors, and it's difficult. And it's much easier for an objective third party to address this.
Well, my comments are, I think it needs to go to the appeal authority. But, we have shown at least on 2 appeals that the town council can make the right decision. But that doesn't mean we're gonna have the same town council members every year. So I think it needs to go to the appeal authority. The way this is written, it says town council is legislative body, and we would not be acting as a legislative body, we'd be acting as an administrative body. And it creates some due process issues if you don't do it right. And so I think it's better to go to the appeal authority. And Gene, I do empathize or agree with you on individuals that don't have the resources to appeal. And that's one thing that does concern me with how we charge for that. I just don't know the solution yet. But I mean, we could adjust the fee, so we subsidize that fee instead of having the person pay the full fee. And maybe that's something we'll have to look into in the future. But irrespective of what the cost is, I think it needs to go to the appeal authority.
And that's something the legislative body would do, would be to determine if a reprieve is on cost is justified.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about is a different fee for resident versus non-resident, or some type of application to reduce the fee if you're have a certain income level. There's different things we can explore. I don't know what's permissible or not until we start to discuss it. And we'd have to rely on Heath to tell us what's permissible or not in the Utah law.
Okay,
That's for something in the future.
any more discussion on this?
But it looks like the only thing that we need to do on this is change it from 10 days to 15 days.
Well, there is that, yes.
That's the only thing. And I agree that on it. Good,
I think it helps to give them time.
Yes, the 15 days, I agree, giving more time is fine. Okay, so that leaves us this last ordinance, and then we are done for today. So this last ordinance to discuss is the ordinance amending section 2.30 of the rule. Okay. So. This is asking for, I'm not really sure this is in the right spot. I don't know that 2.30 is the right spot for this. Cause this mainly is talking about zoning. Unchanged, the current discussion of 2.30 is talking about amending the number, shape, and boundaries of zones. Oh, or any other provision of the zoning ordinance. Okay, so he's changing so the suggestion is that where we presently have unless the same has been, right now, it presently says that ordinances, heard at public hearing can either be proposed by or submitted to the Virgin Planning and Zoning Commission for its recommendation. And it presently says shall be returned within 30 days. I don't think we have to have that, 30 days. I'm looking at the current language first, not the proposed changes. My personal opinion is to say that, this shall be returned within 30 days after the public hearing. You should have a public hearing and then have a meeting to talk about what happened at the public hearing. I don't know that, I think you should have a public hearing and then immediately vote and send it on to planning town council. I've always disliked, having a public hearing and then a vote the very same day to send something to town council, because that implies that nothing was, listened to at the public hearing. And then the public hearing is just a pro forma, public hearing. They were just merely satisfying code and say, oh, we had a public hearing. So this is taking that away and saying, that if something posted on the public hearing agenda can only be done by a vote of the town council. I disagree with that. Anybody can propose an ordinance and present it to planning commission, and planning commission decide whether or not they want to, how they want to proceed, but I don't think anything proposed ordinance should come to town council and town council vote to put it on a public hearing agenda. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Or have you guys given it any thought yet? And as I said, I'm not sure this belongs in 230, but maybe it does.
What was the recommendation from the planning commission? Was it 5-all, 2-2?
You know, I'm gonna speak to that.
Yeah.
I can't remember, the vote from the planning commission was, someone was missing, right? So
I think
it
there
was 3-1. It was a 3-1 vote, 3 recommended, 1 was opposed. That was the recommendation. But overall recommendation was to approve with 1
Okay.
objection. You look at
The one dissenters. It's from the word.
sure, because that's the dissenter. Yeah, so the big changes to this. And you can decide if you like all the changes or not, but the big change to this, other than taking a paragraph and separating it out, the biggest change to this was
was the requirement to, have a recommendation made by the planning commission, making a requirement that that be on the town council's agenda within 45 days. So that's the big change to this. There's some other little changes, like it went from 30 days to 45 days instead of 30 days. There was some minor alterations like that, but that was the big change. And so the dissenting vote was, I didn't think it had to be on I think the wording could have been better for the requirement to have it on the town council's agenda. So I would have looked for a solution that was more geared to having a section on the agenda at all times with ordinances that were waiting to be reviewed. I don't think it has to be an action item on the agenda where the wording to this kind of indicates.
Could
that it
even be a
would-
discussion.
wouldn't even have to be a discussion item, in my opinion. The concern is that ordinances could be forgotten about or missed when they're not picked up. If it's a heavy load, right? So if town council has a heavy load and then planning and zoning's pushing things up as well, but stuff gets lost in the mix, and then people's work is lost. And so having a section that just indicated, my opinion was having a section that just indicated what was waiting action would be appropriate.
So kind of like a place marker.
Which is a concern, that's, I think, the other thing I see, right? It's good for us as a council advisors, to take care of the commission. I've spoken with a couple of commissioners from the past who said they would never do this again because they would spend hours working and then the council would just throw it out, right, would just never get to it in the past. Maybe it would be a good practice to have some sort of place marker on the agenda, since these are ones that we need to get to at some point, but I don't know if this is the right answer or not either, but I do agree with that dissent. There should be something that binds us to take care of our commission and their work.
Yeah, the dissent was that this might be too strict of a solution to that problem. That was the dissent. So the ordinance fixes that problem. The dissent was this might be too forward or too much of a requirement.
I thought you just voted against because you like to stir things up.
I usually follow that up with a joke. And then follow that up with a joke.
I do like the placeholder idea, so even if we don't approve this next month, or whenever it gets to it, I do like the idea of having a section as a reminder, placeholder of ordinances that we still can get to. I think that's a kind of a good idea.
That against that placeholder can get quite large if we're not moving fast enough.
Yeah, and it may.
I think the premise of this is a really good idea, but it's just. It needs some tweaking. It needs some tweaking.
Sorry,
Yes.
man.
Go, yeah, sure.
Sean reminded me, the other big concern was the same one the mayor had, was the requirement for a return within 30 days of the public hearing.
Yeah, I don't
Which is
like that.
And so this works to correct that problem as well, so.
I don't even know if 45 days is too soon. Just because you guys might have multiple public hearings, or you may want to have a public hearing and then discuss it some and then have another public hearing. And the planning commission should be able to have that flexibility.
So the other argument that would go towards that is you don't want a planning commission that works to override or hold back a town council that's elected. And so some time frame may not be a bad idea.
I think state law already covers that, doesn't it? They have excellent.
It doesn't address the extent that it doesn't define it, but if it's, within a reasonable time, it can be considered a recommendation for denial and we would move along.
Is 90 days reasonable?
I
Or
would
is that
say-
what we're shooting?
No, I would
I
say,
would-
That's kind of what we may be trying to accomplish in this, setting what is reasonable time.
So I think 45 based on the,
Well, I don't know
Yeah,
about
60,
45.
I would
What if the
say,
planning commission
I
wants to hold
Multiple months
Well,
of.
say they have a public hearing, they get a lot of good comment, they start working on something else and they decide, okay, we're gonna continue this public hearing, we're gonna put out another draft with a few revisions and tweaks, which which would seem reasonable to me, but then that means they're 2 months apart, and that would make a 45-day period.
we add some wording that said unless amended by
I'm,
planning and zoning. I mean, because they'll be the ones that hold it. Well, we could put 90 days and then if planning and zoning decides to have multiple hearings.
I wouldn't want to say it's a recommendation, but I think the council holds the power to pull that back anytime they want to anyway. They say, look, you're not getting to it, we're gonna grab it. I don't think that there needs to be a time constraint on us to pull it back. I do think there should be something that says, look, the council or the commission sending stuff to the council and we need to get to these things, whether it's a placeholder. We should restrict ourselves to have discipline to take care of the commission, but I think I'm not worried about the commission holding stuff. Because this body oversees their actions and if we need to pull that back from them because they're not getting to it.
I could see a situation where the planning commission is making a decision where they need some expertise brought in. And that would delay it past 90 days. And so if you need that expertise, you don't want to give them that time.
I don't.
so see, this is where Heath was saying that state code says 180 days, and if there's no decision, that you can take that as a denial, but the state code gives 180 days before they then say,
Is it 100? Have they changed that? I think it's within a reasonable time and.
no, I'm talking about the, you know what? I'm thinking something else that has the 180 day limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking something else.
But as a practical.
But they put it within a reasonable time, and the way that I've always heard that discussed in municipal attorney association meetings is, then as a municipality, we need to set what is the reasonable time.
Okay,
If not, you're gonna run into an issue or a challenge between the two bodies if, because it makes something really more important to a council and says, hey, if you don't get, we're gonna pull it up after 60 days, but yet they don't do it. You just need to have some.
That's a good point.
what do you think the 90 days do you think the 90 days that Misty proposed is, too short, or do you think that's
No, I
reasonable
think
time?
45 would be too short, but I think,
Be reasonable?
yeah, I mean,
Okay. Yes, Cameron.
So may I suggest? I would suggest that not, if you wanna actually give 90 days, that you would actually make it 115 days. Or 105 days. Because then you get the time difference between planning and zoning meeting and your meeting.
Okay.
Which that may change here from where.
Yeah.
But it might give it,
Right.
it might give it the flexibility it needs.
You like what?
I like the discussions.
So if we were changing the 105 days, we were looking at C2. That's what I was looking at. What are we gonna do with C1? Is that also going to be the same amount of time, or is that going to be shorter?
You were looking at, C2.
I was looking at C2 for the 105 days, that there's no need for something that's placed on the public hearing agenda at the planning commission to be returned to the town council within 45 days. That's too short. When we were talking about 105 days, I thought we were talking about C2. Were we talking about C1? Or are they gonna be the same?
Well, I think under C1, we would just do the placeholder and not even have C1.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about, the placeholder thing.
Yeah, I thought Cameron was
Okay,
Carmen, I assume if I heard you right, you were the dissenting vote and I like his idea of a placeholder.
so how does the placeholder work?
You just have a place on the agenda that says ordinance such and such. It's just a running list of things that's been sent out from the planning commission to us that haven't been addressed yet.
I think it would be good to have the time with it too, that says that this was sent back at this time, so we can see the aging.
So it's, yeah, it's just future items. At the bottom of the agenda, just future items.
So you don't have to.
Is that what you were contemplating,
Business,
Karen?
you just
Something
bump
like
it up
that?
into business.
But
You know what I mean?
I would title it, request for action, it's called an action.
Request action in the near future.
Request action.
Request for action.
It says not to be heard. Just change that.
I like that because then well, the mayor's the one that sets the agenda, but as town council, then we can we're not forced to have an issue when we have some other priorities ahead of it that we need to take care of.
So your suggestion is completely take out that section.
Yeah, mine-
Not even add.
Yeah, my suggestion would be eliminate one and do two with a change to 105 days.
Okay. I don't know that we need to take this current language and put in this A, B, C, 1, 2, and then D 1, 2, 3, because much of it's already in here, but I guess it makes it easier to read. So I guess maybe I'm not opposed. Okay. So we will. I didn't understand, so I said, give me a sample agenda of what you guys talked about, the placeholder thing. Okay, so with this then, did you have something else you want to say, Cameron? It's okay.
I would disagree with, Paul's, assessment as one would need to be removed. I would say that one would need to be rewritten to read, any ordinance given a recommendation by a vote of the commission must be placed on an awaiting action list that is also on the
On the
agenda.
agenda, that's not, okay.
That's good. That's life.
I think we have a recording.
Awaiting action.
Awaiting action list on a town council agenda. Yeah. So we will just, revise this and for the next, we'll make these revisions for this one. All right. So we're done? We don't need a closed meeting, right? Okay, I said, please don't tell me you came with something that we want to talk about.
Second.
All in, all in favor?